Hi, welcome to the Hannah's Knit Cottage podcast. My name is Hannah, and this is my podcast where I like to talk about knitting and my crafting adventures. So it's been a minute. I didn't mean to be gone this long. I'll share more about that in the life update section towards the end. If you don't want to know all the life things, that's fine. But yeah, I'm here, I'm back, and I have a ton of things to show you today. So as always, you can find me on Instagram as Hannah's Knit Cottage and on Ravelry as Hannah072, and I'll have everything linked in the description box below. So if you see me looking down, I have notes. Last year for my birthday, my friend Haley got me this beautiful notebook, and so I have show notes ready. So if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my show notes because there's like 4 pages of stuff to talk about today. So I hope you have a drink with you. Get ready, get your knitting, your crochet, your cross stitch, whatever it is, and get cozy because we're gonna be here for a minute. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. So today is Saturday, August 8th, 2026, and this is episode 28. So the last time I filmed was in June. So we've had June and July projects, and now we're into August. So pretty much everything you saw me working on in June has been finished now, and everything I have to show you today is pretty well brand new, save like 1 or 2 projects. So we're gonna start with the finished objects. First up, and none of these ends are woven in because it's me, we know. They're Holly Press Fiber socks. The yarn is Dearest, You Will Always Be. It's from the Holly Press Fibers Emma collection. Just dropped one, whoops. So it came with this really cute purple mini. A couple years ago, she did a collection on Emma, Jane Austen's Emma. And so I think it was 3 sock sets, 3 or 4, that were inspired by different parts of the book. And when you got the skein, it came with a little stitch marker, and then it also came with a little excerpt from the book that explained like the inspiration behind it. So this is from the very end of the book. And I've always loved this colorway. I had a false start on this I guess it was maybe 2024. I tried to do some colorwork cuff club socks with this, and it didn't work for 2 reasons. One, me and the needles weren't getting along, and so my gauge wasn't right to fit over my foot. And then the other problem was that this purple blends in with the speckles, so then the motif was not showing up in the socks. I used my standard vanilla sock recipe. The difference being I knit these on 9-inch circulars, US 1 9-inch circulars. So these were started on June 3rd and finished on June 18th. It's on a 75% merino, 25% nylon base. It is her sheepish sock base. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, so that's FO number 1. FO number 2, I'm gonna have to put a picture on the screen because these are already packaged up and off. I made some baby socks, and I used the Crazy Sock Ladies pattern, the Littles, which is her children's sock pattern. I love it. It worked really well. I did stick with a US 1 for that, and I pushed myself and I learned a German twisted cast on for that pair of socks. That was a new experience. I started them on June 18th, the day I finished the first socks I showed you, and I finished them on June 20th. They are in the Wool Market Fibers Shimmer sock, and I don't know the name of the colorway, but I do know that it was my leftovers from my Ashburn shawl. So my variegated color in my Ashburn shawl was the same color I used for these socks. Again, used a US 1 on those. So that was FO number 2. FO number 3 is a big one. And I say FO, the knitting is all done. I still have a couple little finishing things, but I wanted to show it here because it is such a big deal that it's done. I'm dropping things. This is my Comebackigan. I'm trying to scoot back. I'm not wearing any knitwear today, and it is incredibly hot down here, so I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts, so don't judge the athletic shorts. But this is my Comebackigan. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, and the yarn is North Bay Fibers. When I got it, it was listed as Heritage Sport, but now they've rebranded it. It's the same yarn, just different name, into Bay Blend Sport, and the colorway Mallard. And it has this beautiful broken rib texture. This was my first bottom-up sweater. So I'm gonna put it on. I have used this sweater so much. I I made the arms, I think, a little bit longer than what she called for in the pattern, and I really could have gotten away without doing that. You can see it's nice, oversized. Just gonna step back a little bit here. It's a little cropped. I've done the button band here, but I don't have the buttons and I don't have the pockets sewn on. So my pockets were actually my gauge swatch, and so they would go like here. So I'm debating on if I'm gonna put those on or not. I think I wanna get the buttons on first. But the buttons, this is the same colorway as Andrew Mowry's sample, and I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. And honestly, it's a little bigger on me than I think it is on her, but I love it. If you hear a squeaky toy, that would be my dog Oliver. Oliver the Basset Hound. He is in his kennel with his squeaky toys, so forgive the squeaks. But anyway, I love this oversized fit. Where we sit in church is really close to the air conditioner vent. So it means that the AC has to blow past us to get to everybody else. At least on our side, there's like 2 big vents, one on each side, and it kind of goes out. So we're kind of near the front where the vents are. So I get really, really cold in church, and the people in the back are like burning up hot. So this cardigan I have worn a lot this summer. I have really loved wearing it. I mean, you could see that the t-shirt I was wearing has a really low drop shoulder, and this just fit right in over it. Really easy. So for me, I feel like I could take whatever top I'm wearing at work and just throw it on over this, and it would be fine. So glad Oliver is loving his toy. It's like having a toddler. Anyway, so this is FO number 3, and I'm so pumped to have this done. I don't know what sweater number this is, but this project has been a long time coming. This was a birthday gift in July of 2025. So I got this the beginning of July in 2025. I cast it on July 30th of 2025, and I didn't finish it until June 26th of 2026. So a whole basically 11 months to get this done. And I ended up actually completely restarting it in January and got it going, and I felt really comfortable. I will say, having knit this, I'm a little more confident in bottom up now. I think it's still a huge learning curve for me, but I do have the Nebula by Jerry Renee Knits. It's also a bottom up sweater. That one is on my radar because I've loved that sweater. Like, I want to knit a black one day. I guess this is a little bit of dream knitting, but I think a black one, because it has that high-low hem, would look so good with like any color pants I have, whether they're a wider leg or skinnier leg, or a skirt, wear it over a dress. I think that sweater would look so good, but I've always been intimidated that it was bottom up. But having knit her bottom up construction now, I think I'm a little more confident that I could do this. Like, this could work. So anyway, I love this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna knit this again. And it's not because it's a bad pattern, it's all the texture and getting like the decreases in the texture. That was it was a lot. So she does have a DRK Everyday cardigan, which is a similar construction but top down. That one I would maybe do because I do like the fit of this. So anyway, that's FO number 3. We love it. I will be wearing this all the time, but not today because it is blazing hot outside. We still have 2 more FOs, y'all. 2 more. Like, my whole table, I'm at my dining table, and the whole entire table is covered with all kinds of knitting and fiber related things. So, big podcast today. So FO number 4 is my Aurora socks. This is my Disney Princess Yarn Club, and these are special. This is the 3rd one in the set. So there was Anna and Elsa for January, and this is February, which was Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. But there's a couple things different, and let me pull out my last pair of socks so you can see. So first, if you notice, these look a little wider than these. So I knit these on a US 0 9-inch circular. Really enjoyed it. I do all the cuffs on Magic Loop, and then once we get down here, I did 9-inch circular all the way down. I pulled up an extra needle. I did a shadow wrap short row heel here, which is different than this one. And then if you look at the toe, I actually decided to knit a bigger toe box. I like my socks, but I didn't like how the toe seemed so short on my other socks, and it just didn't feel like the toe. Like it just felt like this little strip at the bottom, and that was it. So I switched out and did this longer toe box, and these decreases are on the Ravelry project page, which I will link below. And I really love these socks. So I feel like this might be the go-to recipe for my striped socks. I really, now that I've gotten the length of the foot correct and the length of the toe box correct, this heel is fitting better and I'm enjoying it. I really like knitting it. I did do some afterthought heels on the first two of the Princess series, and I just don't like cutting in the heel. I just don't. And some people do, and that's what they prefer because they just want to knit a straight tube down. For me, the sock would sit as a tube for a while because I didn't want to go back in and knit the heel. And so for me, just go ahead, get the heel knocked out, get the pair done. That's what I needed. Obviously, I have a problem with going back in and finishing things, so getting it done in the process is important. Anyways, this is the third one in the set. Yeah, and this was a special sock too because I put them, I wasn't intending on putting them on 9-inch circulars, and I ended up putting them on 9-inch circulars because my husband and I went to the North American International Championships for Pokemon in New Orleans, and so I needed like smaller needles that wouldn't like set off the metal detector that like, you know, were obviously not a weapon, because if they're this short and not that pointy, like that helps a lot. So anyway, these made it through just fine. And I was able to sit in between matches and knit. And I didn't do a ton at the convention, but I did enough. And so these will have that memory knit into them of getting to do that with Grant. There is a video because it was also Worldwide Knit in Public Day. So like, it just made sense that like, I need to bring these socks and I need to knit in public at the Pokemon tournament on Worldwide Knit in Public Day. It's full circle. The nerd and the knitting combined in a day. So if you want to see a video of that and what that looks like, it is on my Instagram. So I also did a German twisted cast on these. And I think that is probably going to be my new sock cast on. And I think I did a German twisted cast on over 2 needles. So kind of combining. I used to do a long tail cast on over 2 needles. And I think now I'm just going to do the German twisted over 2 needles. And it doesn't flare, which I like. But it is extra stretchy. It has a nice finish on the top. I don't know if you can tell. I like it. I like it better than Jenny's stretchy cast on, truthfully. So anyway, one more pair of socks for today, y'all. And this pair you never even saw as a whip. Let me flip my page here of notes. Oh wait, sorry, let me go back. The Aurora socks, these were started on June 11th and finished July 3rd. So I think I started these like the day before we went to the tournament. And I used a US 0 9-inch circular, so not 1, US 0. Alrighty, so that brings us to our last FO, which you never saw as a whip. It just happened. So these are some shorty socks. They are fun and bright for summer. This is Woolmarket Fibers Raspberry Fields, and then I got 2 minis from there. Like they have like a little minis bar you can go grab some minis from, so I grabbed these 2. I thought they went well with the colorway. I had eyed this color for several weeks, and one day I was just like, okay, this is coming home with me. This is my colors. This is my color palette. I love it. So I had a sock class I was teaching, and the lady was doing shorties, and I like to knit along with my students because then they can see I'm not knitting their sock for them, but they can see me demo it on one for me, and I always need more socks. So I definitely have noticed I need more shorties. In this time of year, I'm wearing my shorties a lot, and they're starting to get a little worn and haggard. So it's probably getting close to time to dive through the scraps of like, I've knit a full tall sock out of something, and now I need to go back in and knit a short pair of socks. So anyway, these are FO number 5. This is Wool Market Fibers has a 75-25 base and an 80-20 base. This is the 80-20. Normally I would go down to a US 00 to knit these, but I went ahead and just went down to a US 0, and I do like the way they fit. I haven't blocked them yet, and that's normally the kind of pivot point of, okay, once they get wet, do they grow too much? I think they're going to be okay because they're pretty slim fitting. But if there is an issue, I'll keep you posted. And it's nothing to do with the base. It's just my gauge on 80-20, because with that larger wool content, it does tend to bloom a little more. And you would think 5% would not make that big of a difference, but it really does. So yeah, this is FO number 5. I started these on June 26th, and I finished them on July 17th. So that is all the FOs. Another quick story before we get into whips about wool content and just how much it can make a difference. I found out this summer, I don't know how much I'm allowed to give away. So, there is somebody I knew who looked at some samples of different Sandusgarn yarns. And they let me feel some of them, and that was really nice. And I'm really grateful because I learned a lot. I've always thought that I couldn't do mohair. I thought it itched me too, like it made me too itchy. Which it does. It does make me itchy. But when I touched the Tin Lena mohair, it did not feel that scratchy to me. Like it was something it didn't make me itch. Like I could tolerate it. And the difference is that a lot of mohairs are like 70% mohair and 30% like silk, versus this one I think was like 60% with like 60 or 65% with a little bit of wool content thrown in there, and then the silk. And just that little bit made a difference. I'm still not entirely for sure that I could wear it. I think I could knit a hat with the Tin Lena, like especially like an Oslo hat where you hold like a strand of fingering, maybe get like the Sandusgarn Sunday, hold that with the tin silk mohair and see, does that make me itch? And if it doesn't, then that means, hey, maybe I could knit a sweater with mohair. And I'm very, very excited about that. But it's interesting that just changing the content of the fiber, like 5-10%, can make enough difference in wearability. It's really interesting. So if you have trouble with fibers, definitely play around with that. That if you're like sensitive to wool, maybe a wool cotton blend will work for you, and you can still get the benefits of wool without the itchiness of it, or mohair, or alpaca. There's all kinds of things. So good to know. And don't quote me on all the percentages on all of those. That's just me off the top of my head, what I remember. But I know it was not a major difference, but just that little bit less mohair substituted with wool made a huge difference in how it felt to me. Anyway, so now let's talk whips. I have 4 whips, 4 knitting whips, and 1 other whip I'll show you. Take a minute, get a sip of water. All right, so first, this one has not gotten a lot of love, but it has gotten some, so I wanted to mention it. This is in a bag by Michelle from Wool Market Fibers. I won this at a Secret Santa, not a secret, like it was like a, I guess, Dirty Santa exchange where you draw numbers. Okay. Nope, wrong, okay. Whew. Alrighty, so this is the half and half triangles wrap. Oh, I forgot how much I haven't looked at this in so long. I forgot how much I've actually done on this. I've done decent. I've done pretty good. So since the last time you saw it, and I'll move the marker up. So I was here. Let me see if I can finish it. So I did the short rows all the way, all these short rows here, and then I knit across in the cream grayish kind of color, and I've done all of this in the gray. I've really plugged away on this. I forgot how much I had done. I thought I didn't do a lot. This is the half and half triangles wrap. It's a pattern by Pearl Soho. You can get it for free on their website, and the pattern calls for linen quill. And this is the wrong side you're looking at, but if you look up here, this join. So you're doing a wrap and turn, and you're going back and joining those wrap and turns across. So it's really simple, and I think that's the holdup on this, is it's just knitting back and forth, so it just starts to feel monotonous. Like it's just going on and on. There's nothing to interest my brain in knitting this. At the same time, this is a gift for someone, so I probably need to get on it. This was started, there's 2 sizes on the half and half triangle wrap, and the first size calls for 2 skeins of each color. You can also mix and match and do the section striping if you want as well. Maybe that would have helped me get this done faster. I did the smaller size calls for 2 skeins. The larger size calls for 3 skeins of each color. I went ahead and did the smaller size. And I had also purchased a quantity to do the larger size for myself. I've already used one of those colors in a sweater because as soon as I got into this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm not knitting the large of this. And there are people who love this pattern and they knit this pattern over and over and over again. That's like their TV knitting, and more power to them. It's just not my jam. So I started this on September 25th of 2023. So for life context here, when I started this pattern, I had just started dating my husband. We had been dating, I guess, like 2.5 months at that point. In the time that I've been working on this, we dated, got engaged, got married, bought a house, bought a dog. And this is still not done. Now, I mean, we did all those things kind of fast in succession, but, you know, it might be time. I think this might take the cake as the oldest WIP. Either this or my Instant Crush is my oldest WIP that like is still active, not planned to be frogged. I have a blanket WIP that I need to frog, but I don't consider it a WIP because I know I'm going to frog it. I just haven't done it yet because I don't have a need for that yarn right now. So anyway, yeah, this is supposed to be my Q3 focus. Obviously it got some focus. It got some love. I finished the first half of it finally. And there is this lovely, I'm going to pull it off here because I'm going to move it up. I think this is a Charmed and Dangerous one. I got this several years ago, long before Mr. Ollie was in our lives. Little basset hound here. I think this is Charmed and Dangerous. I found it on Etsy several years ago. I'll go ahead and put this on the other side now. So we'll see if this one gets done this year. We can talk more about it at the end, but I'm really starting to evaluate, okay, we're into August now. How many things can I actually finish before the end of the year, realistically? And am I really going to be able to hit my goal of whipping down entirely by the end of the year? I'm hoping yes still. I'm not entirely for sure if that's a yes. I really hope it is. I want it to be. And the 2 colors of linen quill, the green is dill pickle and the gray is called reed gray. And that's linen quill, the fingering weight. And when I put it in the bag, you can see all the linen fluff flying in the air. Mercy. All right. So that is not the next project. This is the next project. This one has not gotten a ton of work. But it's worth mentioning that it has been touched. This is in a bag by Stolen Minutes. This is my book club cardigan. This is a knit along running with Polka Dot Creek. They're supposed to be done in September. I am really starting to doubt that mine will be done in September. Okay, I've done decent. See, I needed this to remind me that I've done okay. So this is the cardigan. So since the last time, okay, I'm getting close actually. Maybe. Not crazy close, but I'm getting there. It's kind of hard because technically the front panel starts back a little bit and you knit it down, so it doesn't always want to. So I have a little bit further to go, but I'm decent. Like, I've knit all of this summer. I forgot how much knitting time I really did put in this summer. So this is a book club cardigan by Sorry Nordland. Polka Dot Creek is doing a knit along for this for Knit City, I think Toronto? Knit City, Calgary. I think it's Calgary. In September. So they're all going to wear their cardigans, and I laugh that they're wearing a cardigan in September because I'm not, unless I'm going to be sitting in front of the blasting church AC, because it's hot here. But this is their traditional worsted base in the colorway Burgundy. It is a non-superwash worsted base, and I have really, really enjoyed working with this base. It's made me consider that I might want another sweater in this at some point, because I have thoroughly enjoyed working with this. And this burgundy color is just, it's one of my colors that I have in my wardrobe. And even with like this gray shirt, like I could see myself, teacher Hannah, wearing this all the time. It does call for pockets. I don't know if I'm gonna put the pockets in or not, but I mean, I've done on the front panel from this marker all the way down here. So I'm getting close to finishing the front panel, and then it will be, this is the armhole here because it's a drop shoulder. So you're knitting until the armhole, and then when you put it in the round, you'll join it here. And then that's your armhole where you pick up your sleeve stitches. And then you go round and round, or not round and round, but just back and forth across all of it to do the body all the way down. And then you'll do sleeves and pockets. So, patterns by Starry Nordland. The pattern's very clear. I had a little bit of confusion at first following it, and it wasn't that the pattern wasn't clear. I just needed to sit down and really look at it and really understand, okay, how are we constructing this garment? And some patterns, you can read it and look at it and be like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And there's some patterns where you just have to take that leap of faith with the designer and be like, okay, whatever you say, I'm gonna do it. This is one of those patterns that you can definitely, if you've knit drop shoulder garments before, if you've never knit a drop shoulder, you just need to trust the process and go with it. It is very clear because you're also doing a V-neck. So you're shaping all of this while shaping your V-neck. So you just need to trust the process. If you've done a drop shoulder before and you remember that construction, then it's going to be fairly straightforward to you. The pocket situation, I understand what we're doing. I've never done that before. So that's going to be a new adventure. But yeah, I do love that cardigan. So we'll see. That's definitely, I would love to have it done by the time Knit City Calgary happens. But honestly, the other two sweaters I'm working on are probably going to come first. We'll see. We need to have a chat about Hannah's knitting future plans. Okay. So that was started on March 14th. So it's like I started this March 14th of this year. I had like 6 months to get this thing done. Not even joined under the arms yet. I'm bad about, I have all this time. I'm just going to let these other things slip in ahead of it. And now here we are. It's almost the deadline and I don't know that's going to be done. Frustrating. So, talking about things slipping in that had no business being cast on. This is a bag by Sunshine and Bubblegum. This is my like red stars and stripes kind of bag. It's got the words of the national anthem on here. I love it. And it's just a plain white interior. I wanted the biggest sweater bag I could get. And it is perfect. This one, when this whip is done, it's gonna probably hold another whip right after it, honestly. This whip is bringing me much joy. This is one you haven't seen yet. This is the pink velvet. Pattern is by Andrea Mowry. It is a fingering weight pattern. It is a colorwork yoke. And this has just brought me so much joy. I love it dearly. Where is the front? Okay, so yeah, I'm right in the front right now. I have not even gotten to the sleeve split. This is the pink velvet. Oh, it looks a little loud from here. It's a loud sweater. Like I knew this was going to be loud, but I do like from a distance, the gray really does read as a neutral, so that pink does pop. This is Polka Dot Creek fingering base in the colorway Heartbreaker. And then the pink, the neon pink, is called Pink Popsicle. I have had this sweater quantity for probably a year or two at least. I probably got it in 23 or 22 because I wasn't married. I know that when I got this. Yeah. So probably that's 3 or 4 years ago. So anyway, I kept postponing casting this sweater on. And I just one day I was like, you know, I really, really want to cast this on. I'd finished some things. It was almost my birthday. So I was like, you know what? Happy birthday to me. It's from Stash. Here we go. And let's clarify here. This is a really good tell. So I cast on here. I went to Walmart Fibers on my birthday, and Janora gifted me this lovely set of Lock and Lou stitch markers. There's a little Ollie, a little basset hound. Let's see if we can get him. Yeah, there he is. Let me show you the other ones. I have them here in the box because I like, they look so pretty in the box. I don't want to mess it up. Look at that. It says dog mom, and there's a little bone and a little just like cute one. Oh no, there's two, sorry. Just a dog mom and a little bone. Isn't it cute? So, I've loved this. I've loved this sweater. I love the stitch marker. And I'll move the stitch marker down now, I guess. I don't know. I kind of hate to move it, but so you could see I started July 7th. My birthday was 2 days later. So from July 7th until July 9th, I did all of this, which is a lot of like short rows and setup. Like what you can't see is there's short rows in the back I was doing too. So I did all of that. I'm sorry, this is the back. So yeah, I did all these short rows, all these rows, did the ribbing, all that, and got decent way into the color work, honestly. And this Heartbreaker is a variegated, so I knew it was going to be kind of a low contrast choice of sweater. You can see I just flew down. I think I had all of this done long before the end of July, and then I've just been round and round. And then that gives you a good chance to see what the Heartbreaker looks like just flat. You can see there's a lot of variegation in there, but I love it. Like something about this just gives me 80s vibes. I don't know. I feel like somebody in the 80s would wear a sweater like this with this color palette. I could be wrong because I was not around in the 80s. But yeah, I love it. I'm not to the sleeve split yet, but I think I'm like an inch away from the sleeve split, and it's just round and round stockinette now is the problem. So it's not as engaging. This is what the skein looks like. You can just see. Also Hannah's colors, gray, black, and pink. We love it. So yeah, I started this July 7th and love it. I know I'm just rambling about the sweater. The big achievement with this sweater, which will carry into my next one, towards the end of the colorwork yoke, I was really close to the end and I was just ready to get the colorwork yoke done and just be chugging away on this. I figured out how to do 2-color colorwork holding both colors in my left hand and not dropping, just holding them both and tensioning them both, but having them separated. So one I drape over my middle finger and one I drape under my middle finger, and then they both go over my index finger. And that creates enough of a separation if I maintain it. And it really works well. I don't know how well I can show this here without ripping it off the needles, but what happens is it's not easy to catch floats that way, but it automatically gives me the proper tension because it's carrying along just like it would if I was knitting without 2 colors. It works really well. I have to be mindful to keep the stitches spread out still, but that was already a consideration, knitting with one in each hand. But it goes significantly faster. And I've had some issues with this elbow, and it particularly flares up when I'm knitting with my right hand and throwing. Like that motion tends to flare up all of this. So being able to pivot and do 2 colors in one hand is faster and more efficient for me and less painful long term. So I'm able to do more just for all of those reasons. So that's a game changer. Like, it's got me really excited to pull out the Instant Crush, because the Instant Crush, you're only doing 2 colors with one hand at any given time. Or sorry, 2 colors at one time, at any given time in the sweater. So if I can get, and I'm round and round, so I'm not having to do any color work flat in that one, then I can just go to town on that one. Obviously, it's not here right now, and it's not going to make an appearance today because there hasn't been any work, but I think if I can get these three sweaters, there's one more sweater we have to talk about. If I can get these 3 sweaters off the needles, the Instant Crush is my Q4 focus. So I could see myself when I get home, I'm working on the Instant Crush as my Q4 focus. When I'm out and about, maybe getting to be Passenger Princess, I'm working on that half and half triangles wrap Q4 focus to get that done. It's just getting these sweaters done first. So anyway, that's the pink velvet. I love it so much. It's just, I know I'm going to love wearing it. I know, like, I already have an outfit in mind. I already have, I'm just gonna grab this really quick because it's right behind the camera. Forgive me if I'm getting very close to you, but I got this. This is the same fabric that my blue pants are in, but if you notice, this is like a dark, it reads like black and gray at the same time. So picture this with some beautiful black clogs that my husband got me for my birthday. I cannot wait. I was kindly gifted a Hobby Lobby gift card from my in-laws for my birthday, and fabric was 30% off. I knew I loved those pants that I made. So they have that same fabric in several different colors. So I have a feeling over the next couple weeks, I'm just going to slowly accumulate all the colors and then just make all the pants. Like all the ones that I could see fitting in my wardrobe. But that black, I think it reads black and gray. So I think it's going to have a really good place in my wardrobe. So that brings us to whip number 4 and the third sweater of the day. Getting everything cleared out because this one, she's not big, but she takes up a lot of space. This is the Antipodes, and it does not look as impressive as it is yet. You can see there are needles everywhere, all over the place. So party is in the back right now on Antipodes. Look at that. And then there's color work all down here. You can see. Whoop. Let's see if I can get it. There she is, all the color work. So this is Andrea Mowry's 2026 Rhinebeck sweater. And your girl cast it on. So, I started this on July 18th, which was officially the cast on day. I think all my yarn got here July 17th, but I went ahead and I waited because I had other things to do. Now I'm trying to get this untangled because there's needles, there's yarn everywhere. The construction of this sweater is really interesting. I was going back and forth on if I was going to knit this sweater or not. I had seen some black and white photos and I was just like, oh, I don't know if this is my style. I don't know. And I hadn't seen like the full sweater. So I knew the day the pattern came out, I was like, these kits are going to fly. And last year I did knit the Ooey Gooey, but I knit it out of, I had linen quill, the quantity that was supposed to be that half and half triangles wrap. I had 3 skeins of that. Just took that out. It's like, nope, not in the half and half. I'm using this for my orange Ooey Gooey. And then I went to Wool Market Fibers and got a skein of cream. It was colorway linen, and knit the Ooey Gooey. And it was great. I got gauge. It was really fun. But I did have a desire to knit one of her patterns in the yarn that was called for, because the only time I've ever done that before has been the Comebackigan. So I was like, it'd be really fun. Just if this is the only year I get to do it, so be it. But just to knit the Rhinebeck sweater for a year in the yarn that's called for and knit it along with all these people just for fun. But I wasn't going to knit it if I didn't love the sweater. So I was like back and forth. So the day the pattern came out, I woke up early, see the patterns launched. I look at it, and as soon as I saw the full color with like the front, the back, all the side views, I was like, I need that in my life. I do need that. And I was really surprised because I was the night before was like, I don't think so. I'm going to look in the morning, but probably not. I got enough on my plate. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need this. And so I went, got on my laptop. The kits were out. I knew they were going to go fast. I'll give you an inkling of how fast in a minute. But I couldn't find a color palette. I thought I wanted like pinks in my sweater. And we can see these are not pinks. These aren't pinks. So I went back and forth on a lot of different colors, and then I remembered I had a skein of Last Splash in my stash. Last Splash in the stash. Again, say that 5 times fast. That was the Spin Cycle colorway, and I realized that this pattern only called for 2 skeins of Spin Cycle, and with it being a color changing yarn, if the dye lot wasn't perfect, it really wasn't going to matter, because the whole point is that the yarn changes color. Like it needs to be a vibrant, colorful sweater. And plenty of people take Spin Cycle scraps that don't go together at all and just mix and match them all together. So I knew, I was like, I can do that. So it reduced the amount of yarn I needed to buy, and that just felt right. And I wear a lot of gray and black, so I figured that just this neutral gray would be a good balance to the brightness of Last Splash. I do have it. Let me talk about this bag. This bag is by Barley Pearls. It's my popcorn bag. It's got the little popcorn bucket lining, and then the pockets, they look like butter. It's perfect. Or the popcorn, I guess, but I like the idea of it being butter. So, and I say that to bring out my spin cycle, because they do look different. What? Oh my goodness, we're all mixed up here. Gotta love it when your bag gets all mixed up here. So, you can tell these are two different dye lots. This purple is kind of here, I guess, in here. So my goal is I'm knitting from the outside. When I get here, then it gives me the opportunity. They're not identical. This one is definitely a little lighter, but I think it will work still for the fade. So I'll knit this and start fading in. When I finish this one, I'll come over here, fade in this one, and then knit this one from the center out. And the idea is that the pink of the spin cycle is going to end up towards the middle of my sweater. And that's what I was hoping for, and I think that is how it's going to play out. So that was my spin cycle. This is my first time using spin cycle. I am very much so enjoying it. It hypes me up for hand spun too. I geeked out when I was knitting this, and I'll explain in a second. This gray color is Confluence by the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Again, these are both the called for, and I don't know that you can get Confluence right now. The color of this is Winter Wolf, right? Winter Wolf? Yes, and I had to get 6 skeins of this. I think they come in 50 gram balls. I think. These are both sport weight yarns. So I think Confluence might be a finger. I think they're both sport though. Anyway, Confluence. So the cool part about this sweater, and I learned this on the first Instagram live they did, both of these yarns are 100% American wool that are milled, dyed, spun, everything in the US, which is really, really cool. So Confluence, this yarn sold out like the first day, I think, like really quick. And then they had to hold some back because they were going to Flock Fiber Festival. And then I don't know if they're bringing it to Rhinebeck or not, but I think they had a little bit at Flock Fiber Festival. Confluence, I think is spun by Green Mountain Spinnery in Vermont. So what they do is they go to local farmers who don't have a large flock. When you mill yarn, they have to completely... it's like an assembly line that basically they have to completely change out and clean everything in between different batches of wool so that this person's wool doesn't touch this person's wool, which makes sense. So if you have a shepherd who has a smaller flock of sheep, they are charged more per fleece because they have to repeat that process quicker. So it is more cost effective to have a larger batch of fiber go through. So a lot of those shepherds, and I mean, we've definitely seen similar experiences down here. A lot of those shepherds will throw out their fleeces or not ever get them processed because they can't afford to. And that's a real shame. And it's definitely, I think, a gap in the American wool industry of we have some sheep, but people aren't as incentivized to raise sheep because it's so hard to get the wool milled. So anyway, Confluence specifically, I don't know that this is true for all of their bases, but Confluence specifically is they got a bunch of the local farmers, I think in the Vermont area, like up in the Northeast, they got those sheep. And if they could combine all of those fleeces into one wool, then Green Mountain Spinnery could spin it and it was cost effective, but the shepherds still got to have their fleeces processed for not an insane amount of money. But because it's small batch, it means there was only so much of this yarn that was able to be made for this sweater. So they've, I guess, been kitting this up for a while to get prepared for the launch because they knew people were going to want to knit the sweater. So it's really cool. I say all of that to say that it's really cool to think that this, specific yarn is helping out the American wool industry, which I think really does need some help. I think there's a lot of people trying to revive it, but it's definitely not cheap. This yarn was not cheap. I will say that. This is not a yarn I'm going to knit with on every sweater. This was a birthday purchase with some gift cards, because yeah, it's not cheap. However, there is a good deal of satisfaction in knitting with American wool. But I know the entire process of this wool happened in the US. And it's a rustic wool. It's non-superwash. I've enjoyed knitting with it. Sport's just weird to me. It doesn't know if it wants to be a fingering or a DK. It just kind of hangs out in this weird land of sport. And I haven't knit with a lot of sport. The Comebackigan was the first thing I had actually truly knit in sport weight, and this being the second. Well, I guess that's not true. I knit a scarf when I first started knitting in sport weight. My dad requested a scarf, and it called for a sport weight yarn. But otherwise, I've all just done fingering or DK. I've never really done sport that much. Anyway, so because there was only so much wool these people had, the yarn sold out really quick. And so they've offered different substitutions. And if you want to knit, have I said the pattern? This is Antipodes by Andrew Ravelry. If you want to knit this sweater, you're probably going to have to get a different yarn than Confluence. Spin Cycle, they got plenty. Dyed in the Wool, they got a ton. But if you want something, you're probably not going to be able to find Confluence for a little bit. So just a heads up. Okay, so let's talk about the construction of this sweater. And I'm spending a lot of time talking about this because hopefully the next time I see you, this is almost done. And I won't go through the whole process of this. But I think this pattern, I've really been impressed with how it's constructed to properly fit to your body, and we'll definitely have to test this when I finish it and see does it really fit this well as what it is being marketed to fit. So you start with a provisional cast on. I'm not for sure why we need to do a provisional cast on yet, but I'm trusting the process. This is the sweater I'm trusting the process on, and I'm just saying, yes ma'am, I'm doing what you said, and keep rolling. So you go back and forth in stripes, and this is your saddle shoulder. But unlike most saddle shoulders, usually you do like a saddle on one side and a saddle on the other side, and they would be here and here. My Getty tee is a really good example of that. If you have like 3 crochet squares, 3 crochet squares, and then you join them, you do the neck in the middle. So you have the back panel, then the front panel, and there's your neck, you know? This one, you actually have your neck shaping in the saddle. So this is the beginning of the back panel. So you bound off some stitches, and while you're working this, you're actually increasing across. And I think I finished the increases here, bound off some stitches, did the middle part, and then you cast on stitches again and continue down and finish. And these are all the decreases down, making sure it matches the first side. And then you leave those stitches on hold. And these are the stitches I think that are going to become my sleeve here. I know they're going to become my sleeve, but yeah. This will be the sleeve here. And then you picked up and you work the back panel. But what I was really interested in is we are doing some shaping here. If you notice that she shaped this out, and the front panel has a little more. And we've got this fake seam here, and apparently there's going to be one down each side too. Then once you finish the back, you do your colorwork flat. That was a new thing. Never done colorwork flat before. It's not my favorite. I will gladly admit that. But I did it. I survived. I only had to do 12 rows, and I have to do 12 rows on the front. So hopefully I can do those 12 rows today. We'll see. Then you go to the front, and the way the front starts, you pick up each side, and she has you do some shaping. If you look, technically there's a little more fabric here than there is here. So you give this curve of your shoulder, you know, like, so you have a little more fabric here, and then it'll decrease as it curves off to create that arm shape. So you don't have this, because this is a square. You notice this, and even this has a little bit of a decrease where you can see, but you see the squareness here. So if you just have a big flat square, you get all of this extra, versus she's shaping this to remove some of this bulk. So then you get this more fitted sleeve, which some people may like, some people may not. I personally am very excited for it. That is my preference. I don't usually like a lot of extra fabric in my underarm. Just my personal preference. I like a fitted sleeve. Anyway, so then you shape your round. Once you get that shaping done, then you start adding stitches in to round out your neck and connect it together. And then you're working back and forth flat. And then I'm going to do a little bit of color work. When I finish the color work here, like I did, 12 rows down here, and then I connect it in the round and knit around and round down. So I'm through almost all of like the jigsaw puzzle of this sweater, and I haven't looked at the sleeves yet. I'm not even going to attempt to look at the sleeves yet. But all of this color work, it's interesting, all of this color work sits back. So really when you look head on, you're not going to see the majority of these stripes. You might get like a little inkling right here, but not much. And then when you turn around, then you're going to see this full stripy panel all the way down the back, which is really cool. She also just released the flock pullover, which is it's the same construction, just with stripes. So it's not as intricate of color work. The color work flat, I cannot do with two colors in one hand because I use my thumb to purl, like a Portuguese purl. And so I haven't quite figured out how to keep the tension even and to switch between two colors to have both colors in one hand. So the purling color work flat is very slow. That has been the holdup. And this has been the majority of my knitting time has been on this since I started it. And just, it's taken a lot of time. I think once I get it round and round, it'll be okay. And then I'll have my pink velvet will be my car knitting. When I get home, I work on my Antipodes. When one of them starts finishing up, the Antipodes should be getting near the end of the color work. The color work chart is not bad. I don't know if it's going to be easy enough to do as like a car knitting situation. If it is, then that will rotate to car knitting and I'll work on my book club cardigan when I get home. Because my goal is I want to get all these sweaters done hopefully by the end of October. And then when I'm looking at the end of the year, I'm just looking at, okay, I'm getting that shawl done and I'm getting the instant crush done. That would be a really good cruise into the end of the year. And maybe I could have like a Christmas Eve cast on, which I've wanted to do for a long time. And I just never do because I have so many whips going on. So let's talk one more whip. This is not a knitting whip though. Different whip. I'm just going to leave this out because I'm going to work on this later today. The goal is to see, can I get her joined in the round this weekend? Maybe I'll post on Instagram if I do. That would be a good milestone. Okay, this is not all of what I've done on this, but I didn't want to pull the rest of it off of where I was working. I spun a whole 2 ounces of fiber. Look at that. This is a Shetland top in the colorway gray that I got from the Woolery. You can see my spinning is not perfect, but it is getting more consistent. So this is 2 ounces of singles. I spun it on my electric eel wheel Nano 2.1. Me and that wheel have finally decided to be friends. It took long enough, but I feel like I finally have figured out the curve of getting it to work. And I've been able to adjust speed and still be able to spin. So I think we're getting somewhere here. In hindsight, would I have spun? I think the reason I spun a whole 2 ounces of fiber on this is because I'm trying to just get it all spun. I did end up ordering 6 more bobbins. They weren't that, I think it was $15 for 3. So I spent $30 to get 6 bobbins. I got 6 more bobbins so I could ply this together because I have 8 ounces of this fiber, which means it's going to take 4 bobbins to spin it. And I think I only had 5 because I accidentally dropped one and broke it. So sad. So I would have 1 extra bobbin and that wouldn't work because if it can fit 2 ounces, if I take these 2 ounces and these 2 ounces, it's going to take 2 bobbins to spin them together. So that wasn't going to work. So what I'm going to try and do, I've gone back to my first bobbin because I hadn't filled it up entirely. And so I'm working on spinning onto that bobbin. So I'll have 4 bobbins of this, and then I should have 7 additional bobbins. So it's going to take me 4 bobbins to ply this. So that leaves me 3 spare bobbins to hopefully not drop on the floor, but to get plied up. I've also ordered some more spinning fiber. I'm going to talk about that when it comes in. I think it'll be in next week, so you'll see it on the next episode. Maybe it'll already start being spun, but I'm finding I am enjoying spinning this. I'm using a short forward draw, which basically, if you're not a spinner, it's how I'm feeding the yarn in to be spun. This is the best way I know how to explain it. I attempted long draw, but I had seen somewhere somebody said, hey, don't try long draw on just like a comb top. It's not good for, I think that's called a woolen spun, and this is a worsted spun. I could have those terms mixed up. It's about the way we spin the fiber and how much air is left in the fiber, and do I comb all the fibers back the same direction, I think. I'm a baby spinner. I'm learning a whole lot about how yarn is made. So I think I'll use this yarn. I got this because I was like, it's a neutral. I can use it with whatever. I don't know what this is going to become when it grows up. It's going to be yarn, but I don't know what I'm going to do with said yarn. So I got to wait and see. I'm hoping, now that I've gotten a little more consistent, I'm hoping I'll land somewhere in the sport to DK range. I'm going to do a 2-ply. I'm not attempting a 3-ply yet. And I don't have a Lazy Kate. I don't know if we're going to try and make a Lazy Kate or if I'm going to buy one. We'll see. But yeah, it's just gray. I'm thinking maybe a jaunty. I kind of really think I want to do a traveler cowl because that pattern does play well with hand spun. Gauge isn't going to matter as much on it. The only thing, I do like a closer fitting cowl. Traveler cowl is by Andrew Mallory. I do like a closer fitting cowl. The pattern is designed with hand spun in mind, so it would play nice with it, but hers, I have heard, are a little tighter on the neck, so I just need to look at the dimensions and see if that's what I want. And if not, I'm sure I can find some sort of bandana cowl I can hack to make that, because that would be a good staple for work. For morning duty when I'm out in the cold. Okay. That is all of the works in progress. We are like at almost an hour of me talking, and I think there's going to be some edits, so you won't quite be in an hour, but yeah. All right, let's talk acquisitions. I already mentioned that I got these new bobbins for the Nano. They're going to be here next week, so I don't feel the need to show those. You'll see them when they have fiber on them, you know, it'll be fine. I also, what else did I acquire? I got more fiber. Again, you'll see that when it comes in. And then I got 2 skeins of yarn. The first one, no surprise, the next princess. I actually had to double check to see if y'all had seen June's princess. And y'all had, it was Jasmine. This is July's princess. This is Ariel with the colorway Deep Sea. I have heard somebody mention this one might bleed, so I'm going to double check. I'm going to reach out and see, because this isn't over-dyed. If it does bleed, I'm going to sub out because I am not about to have that white stripe destroyed by Deep Sea. So we'll see. We will see about Deep Sea. Anyway, this is Ariel, Polka Dot Creek, Canadian yarn dyer, 75, superwash merino, 25% nylon. This is a 50-gram skein with a 20-gram mini. I was going to get the Disney the Disney Villains collection because I thought the Disney Villains were going to be self-striping like this, and I'm thinking that maybe they were supposed to be, but they've had a lot happen. I think Shelly was sick. I think they had a lot going on with their store, so they were and maybe it was always intended to be variegated. I don't know, but I'm taking the leftovers of my princess yarn and I am making a Scrappy blanket. The jelly roll blanket, I haven't worked on it, which is why it's not here. However, so when the villains came out and they only had them as variegated, I looked and I thought about it when I went to order August Princess. Do I remember what August Princess was? What is August Princess? Oh, August is Snow White. I'm really excited about Snow White because they did Snow White good. They did. I mean, I like all of these, but Snow White, Aurora and Snow White have been like the best adaptation by far. Maybe Anna's is pretty spot on too. Sorry. When I see that they're variegated and then I'm looking at my yarn stash of a ton of variegated yarn, and I do have a good bit of self-striping yarn, but I knew I wasn't going to put them in that blanket with the rest of the princesses if they weren't self-striping as well. I personally, my OCD self, would not want the difference. So I made the decision not to get them and not to just explode my stash with 6 more skeins of yarn. We do still have, I think, 4 more princesses left for September through December, and you'll see August when it comes in. So yeah, I'll still have plenty, but it'll be fine. I don't know if I'll have enough for a blanket, so I might have to see about what size this blanket turns out to be. And that's why I haven't really worked on it, because I need to decide if I'm going to start a second strip or not. If I'm going to put Aurora in the first strip, or if I'm going to start a second strip with that one. We'll see. We'll see. The other acquisition, this is from Woolmarket Fibers. This is Way of Kings. And the Raspberry Fields you saw too was an acquisition, but it's already been knitted, so you saw that way. But this is Way of Kings. This is an 80 superwash merino, 20% nylon. They had this colorway a couple years ago when I purchased it. I actually was the one who named this one because it looks like the cover of Way of Kings to me, by Brandon Sanderson. Giant epic fantasy book, like epic. And I knitted 2 pairs of socks out of this and never knitted a pair for myself. And I always regretted that I never had a pair for myself. So one day I was talking to Doug, who dyes the yarn, and I was like, yeah, I really wish you would bring back Way of Kings because I never got to knit a pair for myself. He's like, I think I have some. And I looked over and it was just one lonely little Way of Kings sitting there. And I was like, that is mine. It's coming home with me now. So I have that. My plan is I'm going to make a pair for me, and then I don't know, I might make another pair for my dad or somebody. I need to make more socks for other people. That's been a hard thing this year with the whipping down. And obviously I've made a lot of selfish cast-ons this year too. So I really, the other day I was like, maybe I should just like make all these socks for Christmas for all these people. And I had to be like, Hannah, what are you doing? You're not going to be whipped down to no whips at all if you do that. So I think next year might be the year of, okay, if I whip down this year, then next year, okay, start in January, what are we making for Christmas? And spread it out through the whole year. I know Michelle at Woolmarket Fibers says that. I know Nitty Natty of the Natalie of the Nitty Natty podcast. She does that as well. And I think that's probably what I need to do. I've just been in whip down mode for so long that, and then I cast on other things. Like I get mid-year and I think I have an excuse to cast on new things, and I really don't. So I think next year is the year of stashing down. If I whip down this year, the next year I can stash down and gift knit. And knit all the socks because I have a ton of sock yarn. So on that subject, I know I just said I don't need any new cast-ons, but I'm going to shout out to, they may or may not get cast on. We'll see. We'll see. The thing is, like, how do I say this? I've been very much so craving a vanilla project, just like a vanilla sock. And it's the last month of summer sock camp. I could see myself, if I got some sweaters off the needles, casting on a sock between now. I think probably the next episode will come out in the beginning of September. I just think that's the most achievable for me. And even if I don't cast these on, they're worth shouting out. My next princess sock would be the March one, which is Tiana. You've seen this. This may be a cast on. We'll see. But this one has been calling my name. I got this a year ago. We're not going to show the other side. It's the Under His Wing sock set. The other side has my address. That's why we're not showing it. But this is by Leap of Faith Yarns. And is it not just gorgeous? And it's just like, it's summer and autumn together. Like, this is perfect, like August, September peak colors here. It has a beautiful scripture on the inside. I don't want to rattle and unravel this. I love this little package. And I just haven't had the heart. I did disturb it a little bit yesterday and read the card in there. I might cast this on, but I'm casting this on with no goal of when it's done, which is the difference of if I start gift knitting and I gift knit one person something for Christmas and not somebody else, you know what I mean? Like, it looks bad. So I feel like it's kind of one of those all or nothing situations. So I feel like next year is the year I gift knit. I think that's the plan. And I can do that in a way that I'm not stressed out. Odds are I'm probably not going to cast on those socks till towards the end of the month, if I do at all. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'll also add this. Over the summer, I guess we're moving into life and reading and watching. Over the summer, it was just busy. Like I overbooked my summer. I very much so did. And then when I sat down to cast the Antipodes, it felt like I was on summer break. And that was the Saturday before I went back to work. I went back to work the next Monday. So it was like, I finally felt like summer, and then I went back to work. It was just like, and I had a couple days in there that I got to rest, but it was just thing after thing after thing coming up. And then it was, okay, I got to start prepping for the school year. And then there was just some events we had to do, not had to do, but events there's an event we were hosting. There were some things I had to go do, get things done, getting things for the school year. There was a lot going on. So my knitting mojo just kind of dropped off a cliff. It really did. And I think that's where you see my reckless cast on is I'm kind of in the phase of I need to love knitting again. I need to enjoy what I'm knitting and I need to be excited about it. So I'm not in a place where I can just commit myself to, I wouldn't say work knitting, but like a set fixed timeline knitting. I've got to break free of that or it's going to kill my knitting mojo. It really is. So, anyway, let's go to reading and watching. Okay. I have two things that were based off of books that I read. I watched and then I read. So I'm going to talk about the one I didn't like as much first, and then you're going to see me ramble about the second one a ton. So the first one is The Other Bennett Sister. It is by Janice Hadlow. I watched the series on BritBox and I've started listening on Audible. The series on BritBox has been very, very well received. People are raving about it all over the place, and they are going to be going back and doing a Christmas special. I actually started that series first before the other one, watched like 2 or 3 episodes, and then quit and went and watched the whole other series and read those books and then came back and finished the series. So if you don't know about The Other Bennett Sister, basically it takes Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice and puts us back in that world, but this time we're in the perspective of Mary Bennet, and she is the middle child, the epitome of the middle child. She has 2 older sisters, Lizzie and Jane, that are always doted on. They have their happy ending in Pride and Prejudice. Then you have the 2 younger sisters, Kitty and Lydia. They have their happy endings in this book. I don't know. Lydia has her ending. If you know Pride and Prejudice, you know. Anyway. So this book focuses on Mary kind of discovering herself. She's the one that's kind of the oddball in the family, the typical middle child. She, I don't know if she's been portrayed wearing spectacles in pretty much every Pride and Prejudice adaptation I've seen. I don't remember if that's in the book or not, in Pride and Prejudice, but it's definitely in The Other Bennett Sister. And that it tracks for Mary. It really does. But it's telling it through her perspective. And the idea of like she feels like this ugly duckling and doesn't feel like she belongs. And it's her kind of coming into her own story, for lack of a better word. And I was really excited about that. And I did finish the series, and the ending was okay. I'm not going to say any spoilers here about stories. So I think the series did a good job of putting us back into the world of Pride and Prejudice. The first impressions of how they portrayed Lizzie and Jane in the first couple episodes, I thought did they really make Lizzie snobbish? Like, did they make her snobbish? And Mr. Darcy they portrayed as snobbish, which it kind of makes sense that only Elizabeth would see the softer side of him. So that tracks. As the series went on, we saw a little more of Elizabeth without spoiling it, and I appreciated the detail of how they handled Elizabeth. I like that they gave her red hair, that they picked an actress with red hair. I thought that was great. That would track for Elizabeth to have like that fiery kind of spunk to her. Jane is kind of around. Lydia is obnoxious as ever. That tracks. And Kitty kind of is obnoxious but has a heart. That tracks. Mrs. Bennet just uses Mary like a servant. And I'm back and forth on if I think that that's accurate or not. And honestly, none of those things were my problem with the series. My biggest problem with the series was that it felt like, in some senses, we respected what the morals, like the traditional expectations of the Regency era were. And I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, so that's why I feel like I'm being a little nitpicky about this, because I love this universe. I love Jane Austen's creations. I feel like in some aspects, Mary was put in situations or given options of things that I just don't know would have happened to her in that time. And if she really is like the ugly duckling, I don't know that, there's one character she befriends. I'm like, yes, you would be friends with this person. Yes, this would be a person that you would jive. Like, yes, you would cross circles. The other person, the other, like, her best friend, and then there's a male character that she crosses paths with, that I'm like, I felt like it never justified why he took an interest in her, except that maybe he was trying to take advantage of her. And that was my perspective of that. He wanted to take advantage of her, that he thought, okay, well, they won't, care about her. That's not how they portrayed it in the series. But that was my reading, because I just couldn't in my mind justify that would work. Anyway, Caroline Bingley as well. Her ending, I'm like, I don't think she would do that. I just don't. So if you like Jane Austen, I definitely suggest watching it. It was fun. For the most part, I enjoyed the ending. It was good. I don't know that I'm going to rewatch it. So anyway, I might watch the Christmas special. We'll see. I do love a good BBC Christmas special. They know how to put a good Christmas episode out. So, and I do like Mary's ending. I think that is the correct ending for her. I just feel like the other twist we took off of, like, the path she could have gone down, I just don't think that would have ever happened to her. So anyway, now this is the series I watched in the interim between watching the first half of The Other Bennett Sister and the second half of The Other Bennett Sister, and that is Seeking Persephone by Sarah M. Eden. So this series, I saw an ad for it. They were streaming it on Angel, the Angel Network, I guess is what it's called. So I watched it on Angel. You can be a guild member on Angel. I think you can have a free account as well on Angel. I'm not for sure. So, just double check that if that is a concern for you. They also have Seeking Persephone where you can buy it on Amazon. I think it might be on Tubi. I'm not for sure. I watched it and then immediately rewatched it. I watched it like 3 times. Then I went and I got the audiobook. I had some Audible credits, so I got the audiobook, and I loved the audiobook except for the narrator. Like, the person reading the book, they tried their best, but it just was not that great. If I didn't know I already loved the story of Seeking Persephone, I would not have finished that book. I'll say that. So if you're gonna read it, just get the Kindle version. It was on sale for like $3.99. I bought the entire series. Just saying, that's how much I loved it. I also read the second book, which is called Courting Miss Lancaster, and I bought the DVD so I could get the special features, and I bought it on Amazon Prime so I could stream it whenever I wanted. And now I found out there were prequel novels and there's other crossovers between other series, so I'm sold. Like, I'm here. I want to read all of them. Here for it. So, Seeking Persephone, the premise of it is it's also Regency era. Regency is having a moment, and I'm loving it. I love Regency and Victorian era things. I will say, for both The Other Bennett Sister and Seeking Persephone, they are both family friendly. There are no, to my knowledge, from what I saw, no cursing in either one. And I love, like, in Seeking Persephone, when you're reading the book, it might say such and such character, like, cursed, but it doesn't say the curse word. It just says they cursed. So it's that level of family friendly, that we can still have a character who is shady at best or not doing great life things, but we don't have to, like, read through the pits of them and read very bad things, I think that's really a wise choice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I could just sit back and enjoy it and not worry about anything. And probably why I keep watching it, honestly. So the premise of Seeking Persephone, we're in Shropshire, England in 1805, and there is the Lancaster family. The father is a scholar, and he is kind of zoned out a lot. I think maybe experiencing some early Alzheimer's, dementia issues, kind of off in his own world. The mother died 8 years prior, giving birth to the youngest daughter. And so there are like 6 kids. I think 6. Let's go through. There's the oldest, Persephone, and the father's a scholar, so he names them all after Greek mythological things. There's Persephone, Athena, Daphne, Evander, Linus, Artemis. Yes, there's 6. So, the book series, the Lancaster book series, goes through each sibling and tells their story. They kind of like a love story or a coming of age story about each one. So Seeking Persephone starts off. They are like descended from a baron, so they like have like they're not titled, but they have like a nice family home, but they've fallen on hard times. They don't really have a lot of money, and the father is kind of off, having some issues. We don't learn a lot about that. In book 2, they kind of give us a little more of a hint about that, but not a ton of detail. We just know he's not really being the best breadwinner at the moment. He just cannot be health-wise. So they're worried about their family slipping further and further into poverty. Persephone being the oldest, since their mom died, she has taken over the role of raising the family. They do laundry to try and help get money, all the things. But still, it's just not enough. And then the 2 boys, Evander and Linus, have gone off into the Navy also to earn their own way and earn money for the family. So one day, Persephone comes home, and her dad's like, we got this weird letter. She's like, wait, what's this weird letter? And said, there's this duke, the Duke of Kildare, and he wants to marry you. And he's willing to settle, like, I don't know, 25,000 pounds on each, 20,000 pounds, I think, on each of the 3 other daughters, and 25,000 pounds each on the 2 boys, so that they could all be provided for and have a future if, she will marry this random duke. And Persephone goes back and forth, and she eventually decides that, just like Persephone in Greek mythology, that word, that she would sacrifice herself for the good of her family. And that's kind of a theme in this, is the tale of Hades and Persephone, kind of a retelling. So like if you had Pride and Prejudice meets Hades and Persephone, or Beauty and the Beast, that would be this book for sure. So when she gets there and marries the Duke of Kildare, it turns out that he just wanted to get married so he could have an heir. So in his words, his ridiculous cousin does not inherit the estate. And he seems like the Duke of Kildare just seems really grumpy and gruff. So Persephone is just worried, sick about her family, and upset about everything. Adam, the Duke of Kildare, is gruff and standoffish. And so it's the idea of these 2 people got married, and now they're trying to like live together, and kind of both discovering who each other is, and that maybe they can actually both help each other out. And that maybe it's good to lean on your spouse. So it's really great. And then there's the Duke's best friend, Harry. He's fantastic. Just that character I love so much. And we see more of him in book 2 as well. So the series, I think I've watched it like 5 times now, and I've had it maybe a month. Yeah. I think it's been a month. I've watched it like 5 times. I've read the book. I've listened to it. I read book 2. I'm re-listening to book 1. I kind of want to go back and reread book 2. I read book 2 in I stayed up like 2 or 3 hours one night and read most of it, and then got up the next morning and took like an hour and read the rest of it. I don't power read like that very often. Like I plowed through it. I loved it so much. It was easy to read. Good, clean book. It's a little cheesy. It's a little predictable. There's definitely some twists and turns in Seeking Persephone and in Courting Miss Lancaster. I haven't read the others, so I don't know. But you can tell by how much I'm rambling about it, how much I like it. I think if you like a Hallmark movie, you're going to love this. This is less cheesy than a Hallmark movie, but if you like the cheese of a Hallmark movie, I think you would like this. I I think if you like Pride and Prejudice, if you like Jane Austen, you should give this a try. It may be your cup of tea. It may not be. But the other thing I loved about this, kind of like what I love about my Antipodes being local, or like American yarn, right? This movie was independently made, and it really does not feel like an independently made movie, except for the scene with the wolves. And the wolves are actually real wolves, which I didn't think so. I thought they were CGI, but they were real wolves. But everything else just feels really put together. But this was, they fundraised for this movie. They took several years to make it because they had to raise funds to make the movie. I think they are trying to see if they're able to continue the series and make the second movie. But it's really well done. It's really well done. It's something, you want a good, wholesome movie you could put in front of somebody, this is it. So, anyway, that's my rambling about reading and watching. I only have just a little bit left, and then I'll let you go because I know we're pushing an hour and a half here. So the last two things. Hopefully I'll get to a little more knitting time. We've had a lot of life things happening, and then my knitting mojo has struggled, so that's why it's been a while. I'm hoping to be back soon. I am doing some planning for next year of a series, so I'll talk more about that as it gets closer, but I am pretty confident that it's going to come out next year. Then normally I want to just acknowledge this. The past 2 years we've done It's Fall Y'all knit along, where we did sweaters for like August through October, and yes, I am knitting sweaters right now in August. But with everything happening just in life we've got going on lately, I didn't want the pressure on myself of a knit along, and I hope you guys can understand that. I'm kind of rebalancing some things out and trying to figure out where the balance is between everything. I've cut back a lot of commitments and things that I was doing at work and otherwise, just to try to reduce, I don't know if it's even say reduce stress, but just reduce the workload, that it was just too much. I was sick a whole ton last year, and I think it was just, there was so much going on. I didn't get time to rest. And then I would come home and I would be like, I need to do this around the house and this around the house. And it was too much. So I'm kind of scaling back, and the knit along was part of that. And I might bring it back next year. We might do a different knit along next year, maybe in a different way. We'll see. I'm just kind of taking it one stride at a time. It's been really nice to just be on top of my housework, make sure all of that's handled. But also, like yesterday, we had homemade pizzas for dinner, and I had some Pillsbury pizza dough, but it had expired. So I was able just to walk in the kitchen. I have a stand mixer, so that made a huge difference. But walked in and whipped up some pizza dough and had the pizzas ready when Grant got home. Like nothing had ever happened. There was no travesty. Just knocked my bobbin off the table. That is how Hannah's bobbin broke the first time. Like nothing had ever happened. There was no travesty. Luckily it knocked off onto carpet and not onto a hardwood floor like it did last time. So anyway, so if you were looking forward to the knit along, I'm really sorry. But I hope you understand. It's not that I don't want to, it's just more of I'm trying to balance out all the things. And I think that's where the knitting gets decreased too, of, okay, my priority is here, make sure everything's done for my family. And I find a lot of satisfaction in that too. So hope you understand. And that might mean we're doing like a once a month episode for a little bit. And same with the series. I'm going to take my time to make sure I do it right. I'm not going to rush to get it out on a certain date. I have dates in mind, but just take my time and do what I can each day, and you know, it'll be done when it's done. Anyway, if you watched like over an hour of me rambling, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. If you don't mind hitting like and subscribe, share them with a friend so we can have more people join the Knit Cottage crew. We gotta figure out like a name for people who watch Hannah's Knit Cottage. Like what is our name? If you have a suggestion, let me know in the comments below. I feel like it'll just, when we find the right one, it'll just stick. So just let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you're knitting on. Are you knitting the Antipodes with the giant knit along that everybody's doing? Are you knitting something else? I hope you're doing well. Hope you got some good knitting done, because this was a massive podcast. Anyway, I will see you in September. God bless you and happy making. Bye.